when you're ready.
Hello, everyone. This is Monsef Afkher, and thank you so much for joining us in this new call of Your Divine Uniqueness. Thank you for your presence, sharing with us this time and space, and also sharing with us your beautiful energy. So always happy to connect with you, whether live or on the replays, and also very excited and very thrilled that Guy Finley is with us on the show. I've been following him for several years, and really, I really love his message. It's very profound. It's how to say, it really like shows the essence of the truth that we embody, and he helps you see beyond the veils, beyond the fears, the beliefs that we created, whether we inherited them, or we got them through life experiences. And really, because those fears, those limiting beliefs, it's more layers that we've been building around our hearts, and they affected our life decisions and how we feel and how we create in life in general, and also how we respond to what is happening around us. And today will be about uncertainty, fear, and letting go. Because these times it's like whether because of the world events or because of things that are happening in our personal life, we feel that like there is more uncertainty. It's like the old way of like the things that we were using to feel safe, to feel like more stable in our life. It's that way that doesn't work anymore now, and it feels like we are shifting to a much different way of living life, and sometimes because of these uncertainties, maybe because of the events we see one after the other around the world, like sometimes we just wait maybe to when this ends so we can feel peaceful again or have hope in life. And also when like things in our life, like our desires, if they take some time to manifest, or we get some doubts when things will fall into place. And so, yeah, I feel today's call will bring so many answers about these subjects, and how can we embody that's how to say, the truth that we are, the love that we are in our daily life, and navigate these times with more confidence, more love, more peace. And yeah, so also, like after the discussion, we have a Q&A. So if you want to ask your question, you can raise your hand if you are on Zoom app. If you are watching on the websites on yourdivineuniqueness.com/live, there is a question box there. If you scroll down, you can also write your question there. And also you can type them on the chat box on Zoom. And so before we start, I would love to share with you a little bit about Guy. So Guy Finley is the best-selling author of more than 45 books and audio albums on self-realization, including The Secrets of Letting Go, The Essential Laws of Fearless Living, and his newest book, Relationship Magic, Waking Up Together. He is the founder and director of Life of Learning Foundation, a nonprofit center for spiritual discovery located in Southern Oregon. Guy is a faculty member at the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York, and at 1440 Multiversity. Guy gives free online talks every Sunday morning and Wednesday evening Pacific time. And yeah, maybe later he can share with us how you can attend these events. And also he is offering us a free MP3 seminar that you can download. We also talk about that later on the call. And yeah, so with that, Guy, welcome to the show. We're happy to have you with us today.
Nice to see you, Monsef. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Wonderful. So yeah, I shared a little bit about your theory bio. It's very short, but I would love if you can tell us more about maybe your work and the message that you are sharing, the core message.
I think, Mosef, I'll start with my core mission in quotes, and then tell you a little bit how I came to that path that, even as I describe it, you'll see doesn't really exist at all. Honest to God, I don't have a mission, Monsef. I really don't. I am, to use words, a man that, for whatever reasons these things happen, have had my heart set since I was 7 years old on understanding these massive contradictions that I couldn't understand as a boy, but that I could still sense and experience as being the center of human beings, my mother, my father, the world around me. I was born into a very successful family. My father was actually Time Magazine Man of the Year, and he was a groundbreaker in all of these various entertainment worlds. He was a force. My father was. God bless him. He's gone, and I loved him dearly. But in spite of all of the pomp and circumstance that surrounded me growing up, running with all the children of other celebrities of that time, there was always a very distinct feeling that something was wrong, that something was missing, and that there was a dissatisfaction that I had no way of answering, and that the older I got and the more answers I came up with for how to get free of these feelings, the worse it got. And it sounds contradictory, but I'm so glad that it got worse and worse and worse, because at a certain point, an individual has to understand something that sits at the heart of all true spiritual development, but that none of us are actually willing to see with the clarity required. The problem is not any of the conditions in the world around us. The problem is the consciousness that has created this world that we look at ourselves in, and then try to figure out how we can fix the image in the mirror when the image doesn't exist without the consciousness that looks at it. So that we are always trying to fix something that we see as broken. And there's no question the world's a mess. Let's be quite clear about that. The world is in really a bad way, but we're never going to fix the world, Monsef. The world has never been fixed. You don't have to be a genius to look at that and recognize the very best there has been are certain periods of peace that are highlighted by what we call personal prosperity. And then as soon as that reaches its unavoidable zenith, it crashes back down, this great cycle that continues to repeat itself. And then we're right back trying to do the same thing, only blaming others now, other groups, other politics, other religions, for the mess that we're in. And the mess that we're in is that we do not understand ourselves. So my mission in life is to, every single moment of my life, including sitting here with you and talking, to be as present as I can to myself, to see as many things as I can about my consciousness, about what's talking, about the tones it uses, about what it equates, about the whole of myself, because that's where the problem lies and that's where the promise lies. Rumi said, the antidote is in the venom. Nobody understands that, because what he was saying is that the real release, the real freedom, the real relationship that we're all looking for to set ourselves free doesn't exist anywhere outside of us, but rather within our own understanding that we are already free but deceived. We are already liberated as we're ever going to be, but have no idea that the problem is we're a captive of our own minds, a captive of our own thoughts and our reactions. And until all of that's resolved, all missions are going to fail at the outset, which our life shows us, I might add. You don't be, how many roads do I have to go down before I realize, that this road looks familiar, another teacher, another teaching, another guru, another this, another that. So my mission is to be here. And how I got there is just what I described. I went everywhere around the world several times, dusting the feet of masters with my forehead, hoping to get some kind of Shaktipat that would open me up and change me, only to realize that the problem is no one can heal another human being. A human being has to see where they are harming themselves without knowing it. And it is in the awakening and the shock of that a person finally sets out on the real path, which can't be known, it can only be walked. And there you have my answer to your first question.
Wonderful. Yeah, I really love it. Yeah, it feels like just through your answer, like it really have to let go of so many concepts. And also, I believe that's like the illusion that we've been creating or living in. Maybe a big part of it is the identities that we created, that we've been identified to.
Okay, yeah. So you've said something important. It isn't letting go of my problem business associate.
Yes.
It's not letting go of the climate. It's not letting go of all the things. What we have to let go of is the way in which we are automatically identified with every reaction that moves through us, so that we're trying to change what causes us to react, instead of realizing the root of the problem lies that I'm always deriving a temporary sense of self from everything that stirs this consciousness. So it's like there's a saying: if you want to settle the content of a cup of coffee, you don't stir it up, you let it set. It's the same thing. We have to recognize there is something in our consciousness that divides us up from the experience we have of the moment, as if it is what you've said that makes me feel the way I do. The reason I feel the way I do, Monsef, is because I have had a reaction to what you've said, and then that reaction confines me. It defines me. So I'm literally confined and defined by my own reactions, because I just like that identify with everything because it feels familiar. So the problem is letting go of ourself. And we're not about to let go of this consciousness until we recognize it is creating captivity, not freedom, with everything it promises will become downstream if we just do what our reactions tell us to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that. And this, how to say, let us question why we do things in our life. Like, because many times it's like whether creating a business, helping someone, or maybe just reacting, it's more about, like you said, the way we react to the environment or what's happening around us. But when we see that it's not about changing the world outside of us, it's like it brings a different quality of living life, and yes, also the experiences that we are having.
Yes, because the way that this mind works now is that it is immediately drawn into a choice and an action predicated on what this consciousness says has happened. And it says that something has happened out there. She didn't do this, he said that, the government is like this, so that I'm always responding to what I think is the world outside of me. It is not the world outside of me that I am responding to. I am responding to a knee-jerk identification with my own reaction to the world. And until there is a necessary separation, which is every teaching from east to west, in the Dhammapada, the four great principles, what am I trapped by? I'm trapped by what Buddha would say, are my desires. And what are my desires? My desires are born out of what I'm attached to. And what am I attached to other than the things that I have become identified with and dependent on to make sure I know that who I am? Christ basically said, with regards to something like this, he said that let us first heal ourselves so that we can begin in healing ourselves to know how to meet the world instead of trying to heal the world to get rid of our pain. The world is in pain because we're in pain, Monsef, and we don't understand it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, like healing ourselves. Also, I noticed that sometimes, like we create some kind of never-ending loop. We try to look for if there's something wrong with us, so we can heal it, and then it never stops. So how can we approach that?
But see that this is nice that we're starting to go down a little bit deeper into this. See, there's a mistaken assumption that is almost inescapable, almost. Like when you get into a shower or you slip into a bath, and listeners, go along with us, and suddenly, if you live with somebody and you're taking a shower and they flush the toilet or turn the faucet on, and all of a sudden the water gets super hot or super cold. Yes,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So in that moment, you can say to yourself, oh my God, I'm hot. It is so hot. I'm hot. But am I hot? Or is my body registering heat? And then my mind says, oh my God, I'm hot. But who I am isn't hot. I feel heat. I feel cold. I sense it. I am not that heat. I am not that cold. I am aware of it. But when, in this instance, you say something and suddenly I have a heated reaction, I say, I'm angry. No, I am not angry. There is anger in this consciousness, and I'm so used to identifying and saying I to everything that then I think I'm angry. And no more do I think I'm angry than the same consciousness begins to tell me why I'm angry and then what I need to do about it to fix you or change the world that's made me upset, which is why nothing changes, because the consciousness hasn't changed. And the consciousness can't change itself. It can only be made a witness of itself. And in witnessing the fact that all of my pain is born out of identifying with the content of my consciousness, then the wheat begins to be separated from the chaff, as Christ would put it. Then a necessary natural separation takes place, and we can begin to observe ourselves instead of serving a consciousness that is serving itself at our expense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. So it's more to shift from identification to more being an observer. And also, it's not about not being angry or not having resistance. It's more about just witnessing that happening through us.
Yes. See, we're so quick to judge ourselves, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Like, somebody sets me off and then I get mad and then I think, wait a minute, I'm a spiritual man. I'm not supposed to have this angry reaction. And the minute that I do that, I'm actually identified, not with the fact that I was angry, but that suddenly I'm not who I think I am. And now I've got to figure out how to get back to who I think I am again. And I'm trapped in a rat tunnel going around and around and around, but going nowhere because this consciousness is at war with itself, Monsef. I have an image of being a certain kind of person. Then something happens and the image goes right out the window. And suddenly I'm acting out everything that I think I've transcended. I thought I got past being impatient, but here I am, I'm impatient. So now I hate myself for being impatient. I want to change this impatient nature as if the self that was impatient is different than the consciousness that produced it. They're one thing. It's like a mirror. where do you live, Monsef?
Currently, I'm in Turkey, but it's just temporary.
What part of the world?
Turkey.
Turkey. So here I am. I live in Turkey, and God willing, one day I get to come visit. Because I love the country, I love the people, the teachings, the old teachings is that are rooted there. So when you go out and you go out, if you do into nature and you see some of the mountains or some of the natural beauty that's there, what's the attraction? Why am I drawn to that? I'm asking you.
For me, when I go to the mountains here, it's more about connection to myself. That's why I go there. It's like I feel very immersed in the nature, and
exactly.
Yeah.
I go to the mountains because I'm drawn not to the mountains themselves, but the fact that when I see the mountain, I experience the mountain of my consciousness. Yes. There is a direct parallel between the observer and the observed. So that I know when I see the mountains and I feel the majesty, I feel the power, I look at the age, I feel its suffering, all of that, I am experiencing the content of my own consciousness when I look at the mountains or the vast ocean or a night sky. I'm drawn to it because something in me wants to discover and experience the depth and breadth of my soul, of my true self. We understand that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, why wouldn't that exact principle hold true when suddenly I look out and I see something that's making me angry? I look out and I'm suddenly filled with some kind of frustration. I love it when I look out and I see something that makes me feel good about myself, that confirms this self that I have. But the minute that some relationship reveals in my consciousness some of the old content there, the consciousness that is the keeper of that content goes, no, 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 no. That's not me. That's you. And that's what we have to discover. That we live in a world, Monsef, God be thanked, we live in a world where the moment itself is actually revelation. It's always an experience coming into this consciousness for our consciousness to become aware of itself by what it has been touched with. So I love being touched by beauty, love, grace, kindness, compassion. I love that touch, but I don't want to be touched by anything that runs counter to what this consciousness believes is true about itself. So it denies everything that is negative. Whereas we can get it. Does the light run from a shadow?
Yeah, it needs the light needs the darkness.
It absorbs the shadow. Does love run from fear? Or does love set everything free that is afraid? Yeah. So we have to understand something about our true nature to start recognizing we're kind of confused here, because on one hand, I love everything that confirms me, but anything that denies me as I imagine myself is my enemy. And the real enemy is the consciousness that resists the revelation. The real enemy is the consciousness that resists the revelation of itself. That's the real enemy. That's what I call the intimate enemy, one of the books that I wrote.
Yeah. And this brings lots of relief because, how to say, because we've been putting lots of energy in trying to be only in one side of the duality which is the human experience, and it never works.
It never works, but we don't know it doesn't work because it keeps doing it over and over and over again, and we always think, well, this time things will change. Nothing changes downstream. Everything that we do begins upstream, so that if you want, doing is downstream from being. Doing is downstream from being. I keep thinking if I change what I do, it's going to change my being. It doesn't work like that. I have to become intimately involved in the actual manifestation of this consciousness if I want to change what I do. You can't change what you do until you change what you are, period. The last thing we want to know, because we don't know how to change what we are, because I'm going to have to get in there and mix it up. I'm going to have to meet something I don't want to meet.
Wonderful. Yeah, can we also take questions from the audience?
Of course.
So yeah, we have Caroline. She raised her hand. Can you unmute yourself?
Well, hello, beautifuls.
Hi, Caroline.
Hi.
How do you know she was talking to you?
I said beautifuls with an S. Hi, Guy.
Hi.
So you just said something about if I don't change, this is why I raised my voice, because of what you did, my hand, because of what you just said. So I'm feeling the tug, to move. And I meditated on it and thought, is it inside myself? Is it something that needs to move inside of me? Now I've had a lot of challenges in the past few months. So I'm looking outside myself for that, just to see if what I'm hearing is clear. And so in my physical house, I feel a little bit trapped in there. As soon as I'm out of the house and I'm at the lake and I'm in nature, it's all beautiful. Even with a lot of people being the that I need to move from there.
Carolyn.
Hello, Carolyn.
Carolyn, I hope you can hear me. We've lost you temporarily, but if you come back on, I beg of you, I can feel your attention, but you keep your eyes straight out there through the windshield.
Further clarity. What'd you say?
I said, don't look down at. You keep your eyes on the road there. I know we're together. Okay. I don't want you looking down. God forbid. You keep your attention ahead. So look, basically to grasp what you're saying. We are creatures with the capacity God-given to use every moment, every environment, every circumstance to the fullest possibility. And that means that if I'm in my house and I feel trapped, it's not the house I'm trapped in, Carolyn. I'm trapped in resistance to being in the house. And I have to get out of that consciousness. That's the house I'm trapped in is my reaction to my environment, period. The resistance to my environment. Now, I'm not saying that I want to be housebound. I'm not saying that I want to live in a slum somewhere. I'm not saying that I want to be a captive or abused by anyone, but I am saying until I can use every last moment of my environment to study the consciousness that's trying to escape it, then I'm going to forever be listening to a consciousness tell me the problem with my life is the content of the conditions around me, and that's never true. And I must be ruthless with myself in recognizing that it feels like I'm going to be free if I can just get out. So many people, that's what we do. We distract ourselves, believing that the temporary sensation of doing something new is the same as being renewed, and it is not. Real renewal is an interior affair, and we have to find the relationship with the consciousness that is being ceaselessly renewed by the divine through the revelation of itself, so that we can begin to live there and never worry about where we are or who we're with or what's going on, because we're being completed in that very moment in a way that can't be described.
So me wanting more windows or more seeing the outside freedom, seeing the trees, more light in the house is me trying to escape?
No, let's not do either or.
Okay.
You should. Where I live in a house of windows. I require seeing outside, but when I have to be locked in, meaning I've got to do certain work, I don't look out the window. I do my work. I do what is in my power. I refuse to do what's not. That's the task, to use every single moment as a moment of interior reflection, instead of trying to deflect the conditions we say are causing us to feel like a captive. Do as you will, but make your first will the wish to see more about Carolyn.
Okay.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Caroline. Thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Awesome. All right. So, yeah, I really loved what you said, Guy. I see Caroline here. Wait. Let me, yeah, being okay. So, so the condition, it's not a problem, but it's more an opportunity for us to know ourselves, and also our desires and intentions. They are not there for us to free us. It's more like they bring us more expansion, more experiences, but they are not here to free ourselves.
We've all had moments. Carolyn was kind of pointing to it. Just like I described, I look at the mountains, and if I'm even remotely attentive, I feel something I can't feel otherwise. Some quality in my consciousness suddenly is there, and the observer and the observed, the self and the mountains, are suddenly united. And that's where beauty is. But the beauty is not just because they're united. The beauty is because it's always being refreshed. It's always being renewed. Because as I'm given life, light comes into me. As the light comes into me, the light sees the light refreshes the light. And have you ever heard of the horn of plenty, Monsef? Cornucopia is the word. The horn of plenty. It's an old, I think, Greek myth.
Okay.
It's like a horn, and it's filled with fruits and vegetables. A horn of plenty, they call it. It's a representation of our real self. We are always being renewed. But our minds are so glued to all of the thoughts and feelings that provide us an identity that we get stuck. Because I get stuck thinking about you or this or what about that? Because my mind, as Carolyn pointed out, it's an either or mind, isn't it? So I should do this or I shouldn't do that. Get rid of the either or mind and enter into the mind that sees either or. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Because now all the opportunities are there. I'm no longer locked into just this identity or that identity. I'm the observer of all of this, and I'm liberated accordingly from being a captive of either or.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And also we liberate our desires, because we've been putting a lot of pressure on them when we don't see them manifesting. And it's like we don't need our desires anymore. It's like we want them, but without the need, and we allow them to happen whenever it's time for that.
This is a big one, isn't it? This desire question, because we are a desire machine. Desires bubble up from inside of us. But in the end, what is it that we really desire, Monsef? If we've ever thought about it, first I desired, when I was growing up, I wanted a motor scooter. And then I wanted a car with a girl next to me. And then I wanted sex with the girl. And then I wanted a home so I could impress other girls and I want. That's the nature. But what is it always looking for? What is every desire looking for? I'm putting it to you, Monsef. No matter what the desire is, what is it looking for?
It's like feeling loved.
No, it's looking for an end to itself.
Okay. Yeah.
You see, if I get the car, I don't have the desire anymore. If I have the sex, I don't have the desire for whatever along that line. If I get the food, everything desire seeks is an opposite of itself. Everything desire seeks is an opposite of itself. And no opposite can answer or complete itself. So this is why it always feels like there's a desire, there's the thing desired, there's the acquiring of it, and then there's the thing desired again. Because whatever I got wasn't quite enough. It isn't good enough. I need a little bit more. Yeah?
Yes.
Right? This is what I grew up. So I grew up surrounded by wealthy people. And not one of them was happy. Not one. Drinking, drugging, arguing, frightened, jockeying for position. And as a boy, I'm thinking, what in the name of God is going on here? Why? Where's the happiness? Honest to God. The happiness isn't getting drunk. Happiness isn't riding in the Hollywood Christmas parade, being named the honorary sheriff. None of that's happiness. They are events. But when we discover that this consciousness continues to create what it must seek in order to find itself, finally we catch on. You don't find yourself through what you seek. You find yourself by recognizing the seeker is unending. It never stops. Then I have to die to the seeker. I have to die to the desire that's always saying, well, this will do it. Just worry about that, get that straightened out. And it doesn't. And how long do I have to be in a body before it dawns on me that it's time to sit under the Bodhi tree? It's time for me to have a new view of life, where instead of being carried away by all of these things, I become someone who watches the waves of desire, who watches the waves of all this. Not that I don't go have them. Nobody's saying don't do that. That's as silly as not having them. Just watch.
Yeah. And this also, it's like another answer to my first question about uncertainty. Because when we see, because like we have uncertainty because of the need for our desires to free us. But when we don't have that anymore, and like you said, when we are more a watcher, like the uncertainty fades at some point.
Yeah, no desire is going to free you.
Right.
Because the initial desire, which we have, is to be who we are. We're made in the image of God. The initial desire is to know yourself. And when you really know yourself, you know the divine, because it is the divine that put that desire in you to seek him, her within yourself. Then unity is already there. It's realized. And then you can go do if you want to. But see, then you won't want to, because I mean, you'll still want to do things, but you won't be looking to free yourself from anything. You go have the sensory experience, the pleasure, but the real pleasure is in the constant filling of the horn of plenty, the constant renewal of yourself, the constant discovery of yourself. That's what I want to say. The endless discovery of yourself, because you are as endless as the universe itself. Made in the image of God means that you are a microcosm of the macrocosm of this entire creation. That's who you really are. Who wouldn't want to live there instead of all the time out there being unhappy and fighting with life?
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it can bring so much fun to life.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Even the difficult moments. I'm not saying that suddenly, I love life. I love life. That's not like that. Sometimes it's, no. But even then you are growing, because you're studying the resistance. You're no longer identified with the hatred or the fear. You're the student of it. And the one who is a student of something always sits above and outside what is being studied, even while we enter into it to learn the content of ourselves through it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, that's very, very inspiring. And also, just I want to remind our audience that you can ask your question. If you are on Zoom app, you can raise your hand. It's like a link or a button on the app to raise your hand, or you can just write the question in the chat box. Or if you are on the webcast page, the website, there is a question box there as well. And Guy, you are offering a free seminar called Stop Being Afraid Once and for All. And I invite everyone to visit the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Guy, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Guy, GUY, where you can access the seminar. And I would love if you can share about that seminar and what it is about.
Well, it's. Have you ever seen a prism? You know,
Yes.
a prism, and 1 minute it's reflecting this kind of light, and the next moment it's that color, and it's casting all of these colors everywhere. A prism.
Yes.
The principle of a prism. Some people hang them from their mirrors in their car, but you know, if you've ever seen one or have one, you know that the prism is merely catching light. Light by itself has no color that we can see visibly, and yet light is made up of 7 principal colors. Light, and the prism catches these individual light colors in the white light, and then we see that that light is made up of all these things. Like when you look outside, I'm looking outside here on the mountain where I live, I look at the trees, I look at the turkeys, the squirrels, the birds, the deer. Everything that I see because the creature, the form, absorbs some of the light, and what it doesn't absorb, it reflects. So the only reason we see something is because that matter has absorbed a certain wavelength and it's reflecting others. Now, I go through this explanation to help you see that everything about the truth is like that. We see, what did St. Paul said? I don't know if you're familiar with St. Paul. We see life through a glass darkly. We catch this light and that light, and we catch a little of this over here and a little of that, but the whole of it is what we want to catch. This seminar, this free MP3 that I'm offering to your subscribers, is another view, a certain kind of light on a certain kind of darkness that's in us that we don't understand, so that by suddenly shedding light on the nature of a fearful consciousness, we can begin to observe that consciousness instead of serving it the way we do mechanically. So it is possible. I tell you, it is not just possible, you're intended to understand that you can reach a point in your development where you may feel a fear, but you never again run from it. You never again serve it. I have a saying, Monsef, when it comes to fear. You might want to write it down, listeners. But not you, Carolyn, you're driving. The feel is real, but the why is a lie. The feel is real, but the why is a lie. There is no psychological fear without negative imagination. There is no psychological fear without negative imagination. An event happens, this consciousness measures it and compares it, and then decides through its interpretation of that moment what it means. You see that, Monsef?
Yeah.
Once it interprets it, then it looks at its own interpretation and goes, oh my God, no. So it actually looks at its own imagined outcome and then fears its own imagined outcome.
Right.
That's why, is the solution to the fear doing what fear tells me? Or is the solution to the fear to see into the consciousness that always meets an unwanted moment, creates something to fear out of it, and then tries to save itself from a fear it created by itself? When you wake up from the dream, the nightmare is over. Period. That's what we are, is asleep, Monsef. Spiritually asleep. We must wake up from the dream before we can hope to be free of the fear that this dream maker continues to create.
Yeah, that's very beautifully said. thank you so much for that and for offering this seminar to our audience. And yeah, so everyone, I highly recommend that you listen to that seminar, and you can get it again by visiting the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Guy, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Guy, GUY, or you can click on the free gifts button, which is on the webcast page, or later on the replay page. And also in the bio on the webcast, and also it will be available on the replay page. There is a link also for the free events that you are holding. So would you like to talk about that?
Let me add quickly. This coming Sunday, day after tomorrow, I'm giving a special talk, and then a week from Sunday on the 28th, I'm going to go very deeply into this material. I'm going to talk about the intimate enemy. So if you want to mark that down from his website, be sure and join me Sunday morning. And it's replayed, so you don't have to be there in person. You can catch it after it's been recorded. But if you're interested in this, do find out about it. And Monsef will agree with me. We must not just acknowledge what is true, but we must act on that knowledge if we want to be free.
Absolutely. Beautiful. And yeah, so everyone, the link is guyfinley.org/letgo. guyfinley.org/letgo. And you will find it on the bio. Yeah, beautiful. So as you were talking, like I thought about relationship and compassion, because when we live life from the perspective of, or the state of being you described, we totally understand like the human experience, and from that state of being we are able to have compassion toward others and understand the experiences that they are going through as well.
Yes, it's so important, Monsef. I can't say how important it is. We don't understand one another because we often can't stand one another. And when we can't stand one another, it's because we blame the other person for the pain that we're in when we're resisting them. But if we understood that it's not Monsef's pain, it's not Guy's pain, it's not Carolyn's pain, it is our pain. It is what we have yet to understand about ourselves that sits at the root of all that drives us apart and causes us to be unkind. If you knew somebody was hurting, Monsef, would you ever want to hurt them? If you actually knew they were hurting, could you ever want to hurt another human being?
No.
It would be impossible.
Yeah.
When Christ said, love thine enemies, what he was saying is, learn to love those people who awaken you to the part of yourself that wants to blame them for your pain. That's what sits underneath that. Because the more present I am to the actuality of this consciousness, which is, in a manner of speaking, constantly in some form of upheaval, then I look at everyone else and I meet them with the understanding, you know what? I have the same pain. I have the same pain. It's not that I don't react to you, but I have the same pain. I feel the same thing you do. We all feel the same thing we do, but we believe that everyone is making us feel something to separate us from everyone. All of that can change if we're willing to get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when as you were talking, also I thought about like justice, because this is something that's it's talk about like worldwide, especially when we see events where people like are victims. So how to see those events when we have this desire to see justice and not have victims?
See, this isn't an either or question. That's what we want. We want to be told, you go ahead and you march and you hold up signs and you throw stones and you try to punish your enemy. That's what you're meant to do. They're causing you this pain, this uncertainty. And God knows the world is full of monsters, Monsef. It is. There's no question about it. But do I heal the world by hating something?
No.
It's impossible, Monsef. If I hate, I'm the first one who feels the pain of the hatred. I'm the first one. The man I hate, the country I hate, the politic that I hate, they don't feel anything when I hate them. What I hate is the image of that man, that politic, that situation, and the images of my own making. So that when I sit and strike out at the man or the condition, I'm actually striking out at the image in my own mind. So that mind attacks mind. And when mind attacks mind, it causes pain. The conflict becomes intense. And the more the pain grows, the more I'm sure that the man I want to blame is responsible for that pain. And he is not. Justice begins within.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't begin within, there's no justice, which, by the way, is why there's no justice in this world. Everything's corrupt. Why is everything corrupt? Because everyone is looking to blame someone else for the pain they're in, and then coming up with excuses or plans to free themselves by supporting this or supporting that. If, Monsef, if 5,000 people on this planet woke up, the world would change in a heartbeat. 5,000. That's all. Because the consciousness is one consciousness. And that consciousness could be changed immeasurably if there were enough men and women who were willing, as Christ said, to sell all and follow me, who are willing to let go and let God. You fill in however you want to do it. It's not a pleasing thing. It requires a sacrifice. But in the end, the sacrifice turns out to be the fulfillment of oneself and ultimately the healing of self and the world at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's like what we've been doing. It's like if we try to turn off the fire, but we try to do this by adding more fire, and it just makes it worse.
It's crazy, right? It is And Monsef, as advocate for the people that are listening in, if I have hatred for another human being, and I am experiencing in that moment the violence of that hatred in myself, am I not the very first one who experiences the hatred? And in that moment, if I could see it, is not justice being done?
Yeah. Yes.
Try to see it with me. This man, he's so full of hatred. Look how ambitious he is. Look at what a horrible human being he is. He is experiencing his nature in the moment. I cannot add to that. I cannot take from that. So that his nature is his punishment, and his punishment is justice, though he doesn't see it and may never change. This is why it's said in the Old Testament, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. Right out of the old scripture. You don't have to do anything, but that doesn't mean that I don't do what is in my power. If I feel there's something unjust and I feel moved, not because I want to get rid of a problem, but because I want to understand it better. I want to help people. Maybe I want to go help heal. I don't know what I want to do. But let my first action be to understand what is prescribing that action to me. Because if my first action is the prescription of self-awareness, then I cannot act against myself. And if I don't act against myself, I can't act against another human being.
Yeah. Yeah, that was very deep. And yeah, it's really, it's like everything we've been talking, like you've been sharing about, like they bring subjects that really need deep contemplation, so we can return to the truth within.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was very, very inspiring call. Everything you shared, it was very deep, very inspiring. Thank you so much, Guy.
You're a good man, Monsef. You have something good in you.
Thank you.
Cherish it, nourish it, persist with your wish to understand it more thoroughly. I don't care what it costs you. Find out. Then you will make this connection yourself. It's there. Now I have to open up, more bandwidth.
Yeah.
I needed to open up, and I don't open it up out there. I open it up by experiencing first the pleasure of that, and then realizing through that pleasure that this thing could be, it's so much more than that. Let me pursue that. We do that, everything else is done.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. So we have a comment from. So I am learning from what I think or feel about myself or others. It's more about the label or judgments instead of just seeing and sending love to them or myself. It's all about being and experiences.
Yeah. Look,
if
if you buy a can of tomato sauce, and you read the label, and it has something in it you shouldn't eat, and then you eat from the can, you don't blame the label. You have to understand, I wanted that more than I wanted whatever it was. So yes, we have to understand the nature that meets everything with a label, and voluntarily expand the view to see the person, the label, the labeler, everything, the content of the whole, Monsef.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. And thank you for the comments from our listener. We don't have the name. So again, thank you so much, Guy, for the time you spent with us and for everything you shared.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. It was nice to see you. It was nice to share the time together. And we'll do it again if you wish, all right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, my friend.
Thank you.
Bye.
And so everyone, also thank you so much for being here with us today, share with us this space. And again, I highly recommend that you both listen to the seminar, Stop Being Afraid Once and for All. You can get it by going to the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Guy, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Guy, GUI. Or you can click on the free gift button, which is on the webcast page or on the replay page. And also on the bio, in both like webcast and replay pages, we find the link where you can sign up for the free events that Guy holds every Sunday and Wednesday. And let me see, the link is guyfinley.org/letgo, guyfinley.org/letgo. And so with that, everyone, I'm sending you so much love, and